So what I want you to do over the weekend is like notice where people's voices come from. If you can match their tonality, you'll get into rapport far quicker with them. Sometimes people's voices are really high, and if you're one of these people that are really low, it just takes a bit of flexibility to get practice to get up there, and vice versa to come back down. And what you'll notice is that if you change the position of your voice, i.e. where it's coming from, you'll change the tempo as well. So if you're doing presentations and you want to slow down, rather than thinking, I need to slow down, I need to slow down, I need to slow down, which is going to make you speed up, make you speed up, make you speed up. Yeah? Think about where your voice is actually coming from. So if your voice is coming from your stomach, you're going to be much slower and you're going to feel far more relaxed. And then from your chest, just a wee bit speeded up. But if you're up in your nose, you're going to be really fast. So an effective communicator will absolutely 100% know how to match voice tone and tempo. That's why, have you ever noticed when you're having a good time with a friend, your voice starts to sync in with each other and then you all build up and get passionate together, especially if it's about like a subject that you're really interested in. Yeah? So the conversation goes, woo! And then if you're with somebody who's maybe a bit slow and you're kind of like, but they can only understand the information at the process, the rate and speed that they speak. So if you're speaking really fast and someone else processes information really slowly, they're going to miss the content altogether. So just remember, people can only process and understand information at the rate that they speak, not the rate that you speak. And also, little boys can only understand one thing at a time, either the content of what you're saying or the tonality. So if you're screaming something at them, all they hear is you screaming at them. It does get better, they say, when they grow up, but I've not got a full survey on that yet. But especially for boys, children especially, are susceptible. They can only hear the tonality and not the actual content itself. So, rapport. Body matching and mirroring, voice tone and tempo. Another thing that you can do, which is just maybe stretching it a bit for the office, is breathe at the same rate as someone. It's more something you might want to practice on the tube or the train or an aeroplane or somewhere, or even at dinner with people. So you can practice these things, the body matching and mirroring. Have a look now and see how many of you are still matching and mirroring. Probably more so, because you're getting more into rapport the longer. Look at these two. They actually are sitting both like this. Because the longer you spend with someone, the more you begin to get into rapport. And so you can actually just test it by sitting on the train and just start matching someone, just very slowly, and then maybe do something like this with your hair and just notice if they copy you. Because what we find is that when you match and mirror either the body or the voice for long enough, then what you then do is you lead the conversation or you lead the meeting. And it's called pacing and leading. So what you would do is match, 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 mirror, mirror, mirror. Get the voice coming from the same space. So just notice, where's their voice coming from? Does it sound like or feel like it's coming from here, 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 or here? And if I match it for long enough with the tone, the tempo will vibrate at the same and you'll resonate at the same level. And then before long, you'll find that you're actually leading the conversation or leading the meeting. Especially if you can do both of those. Simple, eh? So, one of the things I wanted to talk about as well is that, are you speaking that person's language? Yeah? And what that means is, in NLP, what we've found is that if you have, say, 50,000 people at a football match, every single person there will be having a different experience. That's why NLP is, in fact, bespoke. It is everyone matters, and each person is an individual because of the way they process information. So if you've got 50,000 people at a football match, Some of them will be seeing more of the game, some of them will be hearing more of the game, and some of them will be feeling more of the game. And what that means is that, watch my time here, how they process information. Yeah? So, are they more visual? Are they more auditory? Are they more kinesthetic, it's called, feeling? And what that means is how they process information and what language they use is how they kind of program that into their minds. It's called mapping, how they map that into their minds. So even though this room is full of, maybe 200-300 of you, every single person here is sitting in a different seat. Yeah? So you're all in a different angle for looking at me. So you're all getting a different perspective. So things are different right away. Yeah? Then some of you will prefer to see things, and some of you will prefer to hear things, and some of you will prefer to feel things. So, for instance, a husband and a wife, and she says, I never feel loved. And he says, I show you all the time. And she says, yeah, but I just need a hug. And he said, look at this, I bought you a car. One of them's speaking in visual language, and the other one's speaking in feeling language. So they're both talking the same talk, but there's two different languages going on here. Because visual people will use more seeing predicates, they're called. They'll talk about things and they'll make pictures and they'll be all like this. And then hearing people, if you hear what I'm saying, will be organising that information in their brain in a kind of more auditory way. And then feeling people like to be touchy-feely and they like to be sitting up near the stage and, So the way we process information is really important. And maybe if you're speaking to your boss or speaking to other people in the office, it's important to know where they're coming from so that you can understand exactly how you can communicate better with them. There was someone that came to me and she said, I feel like my boss is always looking down her nose at me. And I said, okay, do you know what our communication and learning style is? And she said, I think she's kinesthetic, but I'm not quite sure. And I said, probably, because if she's looking down to the right and trying to access information, which is something that I'm going to quickly show you, then she probably is looking down her nose, not at you, but to access the information. So, very quickly, how am I doing for time? 2 minutes. How you can find out what a person is, visual, auditory or kinesthetic, is ask them a question. Like, what's your favourite hobby? So, turn to the person next to you and ask them what their favourite hobby is and ask them what specifically they like about that hobby and watch where their eyes go. Good, and swap over. Good, and come back. So, visual people will probably have looked up to the left and told you what they saw. Auditory people will probably have looked to the left and tell you what they heard. And feeling people will have looked down to the right and told you what they felt. And a good question is to ask them something that they do kind of in their spare time. And what do you like about that specifically? Or, how do you know you're loved? Is it something you see, something you hear, or something you feel? And from that, you can begin to organise information to speak to that person in their language. So, to wrap up, basically, NLP communication is about, first and foremost, getting rapport through body matching and mirroring, voice tone and tempo, and then thirdly, speaking that person's language. Are they more visual? Are they more auditory? Or do they feel things? Okay, thanks very much. Can I just say that we've got a stand outside, and the first 6 people to book any of our courses can have it half price, whether it's the ones at £1,500 or £75. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dawn. I heard, felt and saw everything